Welcome to the Idea to Value podcast, where in every episode we highlight the latest insights into creativity and innovation from experts around the world. I'm your host, Nick Skillicorn. I care about the evidence behind what makes ideas happen, and I've already helped thousands of people just like you through my unique insights into recent scientific findings of how creativity works. I also show you how to turbocharge innovation programs so they finally deliver on the value and ideas you've been struggling to execute. Get your free training on how creativity can be improved by registering now at www.ideatovalue.com. Now let's get on with today's episode. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Idea to Value podcast. I'm very pleased to have Bryan Hoedemaeckers with me today. Bryan is a service design director at Deloitte, and we're here to talk about making stuff and doing cool shit.
Yeah, definitely.
So Bryan, can you just let us know a little bit about what you do at Deloitte and how that fits in with the whole creating new things situation?
So I lead a team of service designers as my day job. But on the side, I host and run a series of workshops called the Dreamatorium. And we've actually got a little space down in the kitchen near on level 24, where we run these kind of creative workshops for people to, I guess, explore new technology, let out their creative side, and really start to think about how we can innovate our client offerings. It's not really specifically focused on coming up with an offering, if that makes sense. It's about just exploring, getting your hands dirty, 3D printing stuff.
Got it running in the background there.
Yeah.
And how did this come about?
I guess originally I wanted to just help people get access to emerging technology. So we've got things like 3D printers, VR kits, IoT devices, floating around Deloitte and different innovation teams within Deloitte Digital itself. And there wasn't really a mechanism for people to actually connect with those devices, to be able to get their hands dirty. I just want to learn about VR. What is it? Am I allowed to even touch the VR kit? We've got one just sitting there. So I really just wanted to host a series of workshops where each week we would have, actually every 2 weeks, we would have a workshop based on a specific technology or a specific area of design or a specific creative outlet that someone had. So the first one was on 3D printing. We got 3 3D printers into the office. We had them running. We talked about how you 3D print things, how it works, how you design things to be 3D printed. And we got about 40 or 50 people to come and get their hands dirty with a 3D printer. So it kind of started there, and then after that workshop, more people came to me and said, I'm doing this really crazy thing in VR. Do you reckon I could run a workshop and talk to some people about that? Then we had voice, IoT, product design, storytelling. It just kind of went crazy from there. So we're up to number 13 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that I see in a lot of companies is that people get very excited by new technology, and so they'll say, okay, we're going to invest in, as you say, 3D printing.
Yeah.
They buy a 3D printer, and then no one knows really what to do with it.
Exactly. It's a huge problem with these kind of flashy innovation labs where they get all this new technology, and the only people that are allowed to touch it are the cleaners, dusting the dust off it. So I kind of wanted to break that norm, get the 3D printer up here, get it in use, show people how to use it. And within those workshops, there's this funny thing that happens where people will start talking to the presenters, I've got this idea about 3D printing, I want to be able to 3D print something, can you help me? And it kind of connects people that are interested in the topic outside of the innovation person who runs the 3D printer. It's more of someone who does it at home who can 3D print with someone who does something else that's got an idea, and it's connecting people totally outside of the innovation ecosystem. So we get all these weird, crazy ideas that could eventually add to client offerings. But because we do the Dreamatorium after work, it's not, we don't have to justify it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
There's always a lot of pressure in companies to get some return on investment proven before you do something. And that quite often will really lead to a business case of why you want to run this event.
Exactly.
How do you get around that sort of mentality?
We just run it for nothing. We don't So the only investment really that we have is, some beer and wine, which we put on as Deloitte Digital and invite all of Deloitte Consulting and other people from around the firm. So really just the beer and wine, and we use technology that people already have. So someone brought on a whole lot of IoT sensors from home. Because it's usually people's home hobbies or their passion projects, they bring the stuff in, we put on some beer and wine, they talk about it, people get interested in it, and it's a good way for them to extend what they're doing, and people actually help them with their projects. So we try and keep it very low budget. Obviously, if you don't have a 3D printer, you're going to need a 3D printer to do a Dreamatorium on 3D printing. I'll be surprised if there's, if there aren't people at organizations with 3D printers at home these days, because they're so prolific. So we managed to get 3D printers in, including the one from the innovation lab, which was gathering dust.
So is this more just like a show and tell situation, or do you ever get any business outcomes or service offerings coming out of it?
Yeah, so what we try and do with the format, it's a show and tell in the sense that there's about 20 minutes of theory up front, so explaining what it is. This is a 3D printer, for example. This is how it works. Here's a piece of software that you would use to design something in 3D. And then after that 20 minutes is up, it's 100% getting your hands dirty. So here's a website where you can download a 3D thing. Let's download it. I'll show you how to go through the print, the slicing tool, which 3D printers used as the print dialog basically, and then we'll start to print it and we'll see it in action. So it's like 20 minutes of theory and then a lot of getting your hands dirty, which I think the show and tell side of things, it's more about the person, here's what I've done, as opposed to like getting the audience involved. And I think that's where the connections start to form, rather than saying, here's my 3D printer and what I'm printing and how I did it. It's more like, let's focus on what it is and what you might be able to do with it. And then you get the crowd asking a whole lot of questions. Oh, can I print a pot plant? Can I print a mold for a cake? All these kind of things. So you get all these crazy ideas coming from it, rather than just focusing on the Yoda head that I might be printing.
And you mentioned, before we started, you mentioned some other different Dreamatorium that was run around voice, where it actually resulted in some new offering coming out of it. Yeah,
definitely. So we had about 8 people come and present on voice. So Google Home, Alexa, how you could design for voice, how it was extending as a human-machine interface. And there was a couple of people in the crowd that started talking to each other after the actual session and said, maybe we could design a client offering around this. And then they went and did a big piece of work to actually create that offering, which was a diagnostic tool that you can run on websites to see how optimized they are for voice. And we don't say in the Dreamatorium sessions, you have to run a session and you have to have a client offering come out the back of it. It's more, we just want to know about what it is, how it works, and then hopefully in the audience, there's like an aha moment for someone and they're like, oh, actually, I'm on a project right now and we're doing this weird thing and the client's asking for this weird thing and maybe that can solve it for us. Maybe that's like what we need. So it's really just creating the space for those aha moments to happen with emerging technology. Yeah.
Like a catalyst rather than something with a fixed agenda.
Yeah, exactly. It's not we're trying to push offerings. It's more, people just, I don't know it's not really a pull, not a push-pull situation. It's more like that catalyst, exactly.
Organic mixing.
Yeah. It's like we're creating this environment for something to happen. And we don't know what that something is. And we don't tell finance, this is the metrics we're going to have around doing Dreamatorium. We just say, we're creating this environment, something's going to happen within it. It's going to be good. If the organization has the right values, the right drive, the right kind of culture, something will come out of it for our clients. So yeah, it's pretty good having that lack of pressure. If anyone tried to commercialize the Dreamatorium and say, you need to have $100,000 offering come out the back of it, it would just fall over because
there'd
people
be
wouldn't
too
want to
much
talk about
pressure at the beginning.
exactly. Yeah.
And is that one of the reasons why you think there's so many examples of corporate innovation labs that end up losing momentum quite quickly?
I think so, yeah. I think the main problem with corporate innovation labs is you get all the new technology, you tend to prioritize getting big customers or clients to come through, look at all the fancy new things, you run big sessions about all the stuff you've done in the past, but you don't allow people to actually, exist within that space and create things. It's more of a museum of innovation than a garage space where you actually tinker with stuff. So, yeah, I mean, the corporate innovation labs that I've seen have just been like, here's all the new technology we're playing with, but it's on the shelf, so we're not playing with it. You know?
we are collecting.
Exactly. And here's all our fancy new products that we innovated in the past.
Yeah.
But because we use this space to show high-profile customers and things like that through, there's not the space for someone that might be a grad that's super interested in VR, that just wants to come in after work and spend 2 hours in a VR system exploring crazy things. It's like, no, you need to stay out of the innovation lab for that, because the innovation lab is for the high-end stuff with the high-profile clients, if that makes sense. It's like, look at how innovative we are.
What about a situation where a company, the company leader or someone listening to the podcast, they might themselves might think, I wouldn't know what to do with a 3D printer, so why would I bother with a 3D printer? Is it still worth them just trying it out in case someone else has an idea or some experience?
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, with initiatives like the Dreamatorium, you don't need to invest in that technology. You just need to reach out to your employees and find the things that they do in their spare time. So, for example, if Deloitte didn't have a 3D printer, I could bring my 3D printer into the office, which I did. We had another person bring their 3D printer in, and it was like Deloitte getting access to the capability of 3D printing without actually spending any money on it. And I'm sure within every organization out there, there's people doing VR with VR headsets at home. There's people doing 3D printing. There's people tinkering around with voice, building apps, doing product design, playing with EEG devices. So all these emerging technology, people just want to get their hands on at home. It's about getting that in the office and expanding that capability across, everyone without having to spend a cent. It's like, you don't need to buy a 3D printer to do it. You just get someone to bring it in for a day and, I don't know, give them access to an audience, and then that's it. Yeah. So you don't need to it's these very small actions that you make to allow someone to come and test something and tinker around with something without actually saying, oh, I'm going to spend $10,000 on this capability, and not actually knowing if it's going to go anywhere. It's like a really risk-free approach to innovation, where you just give people access to things that people already have at home. Yeah. Bringing people's passion projects into the office.
Fantastic.
It's pretty crazy.
Bryan, it's been wonderful speaking with you. If people want to find out a bit more about the Dreamatorium or your work, what's the best way to do that?
So I write a bit of stuff on Medium, on a publication called Design for Business, and I've put a little bit of stuff up there. I also run a company called Cold Drip Co. I better plug my own company, Cold Drip Co. So we make cold drip, and we've used technology like IoT and things like that to actually create a machine to make the best cold drip in Sydney.
Nice.
So it's kind of like, that's my passion project. Eventually one day I'll do a Dreamatorium on it.
We'll make sure we get the links down to those below in the description. Bryan, it's been
awesome.
Wonderful speaking with you.
You too.
I look forward to speaking again with you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, please like, share and subscribe, and leave me a comment about what you thought and what you'd like to see more about. If you want to take your creativity and innovation capabilities to the next level, then invest in yourself with the premium training only available at ideatovalue.com. These exclusive training modules have all been put together by me, Nick Skillicorn, and have been used by thousands of artists, innovation leaders and CEOs to become better at understanding the source of their creativity and executing on their innovation ambitions. And there is no risk to you, as they're backed by our money-back guarantee. Now, don't forget to go out there and make your ideas a reality. See you again soon.